Welcome back to Unsweetened. Hope you
Episode
guys are
5.
enjoying.
Episode 5.
We
Didn't
have-
think we'd make it this far, but
We have, and we have a special guest with us today, Mr. Angelo Keyes.
Hey guys, how's it going?
nice to meet you. It was
Awesome
excellent
to have
meeting
you.
Yeah.
I'm actually honored to be here.
Man,
This is gonna be
you're
a-
one of our first major guests, so you're gonna get to go roll through the whole shabam at the end. We got the book to sign.
All right,
So-
all right.
we didn't have
everything.
Emily sign that. We didn't have
No,
the book.
that's all right. I'm sorry, my bad. Second guess,
Oh man.
but that's okay.
Well, we had
That's all right.
we had a guest on our first episode,
Okay.
and she had left the nurse and all. If you want to go back and watch episode 1, you can. But that one was
So today we're gonna dig into a little bit of health, man, and
Yep.
fitness, and maybe doing this a little bit different than what we've been taught growing up. I started out learning things a little bit more probably about 3 or 4 years ago. My mother was sick, and she had cancer, so I was looking for remedies, something to help her with the chemo
Okay.
and things like that. So I ran into somebody, and they kind of taught me a little bit about it, and I learned more and more about it. However, I think it wasn't until I met you that I actually learned more truth about it than what I was taught from the other person. And it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I like the way he
it's
said
interesting.
he was going to say she.
Yeah, I was trying to be
We'll
careful
just
with my words.
we'll just
I
leave
don't
that
need to end
to
up in
your
a
own
lawsuit.
imagination. Yeah, we don't need any
So,
lawsuits or anything like that. So.
But I learned a
It's a
lot of
PG
information.
show.
yeah, PG.
Yeah, PG-13.
So tell him what we're talking about.
So I learned a lot more from you, and it was about ozone. So give us a little bit of your background,
Ozone
and kind of
therapy.
how you got into this
Sure.
medicine and some of the other things you're doing, because I mean you're doing a lot, man. So
Yeah, as I was telling you guys earlier, I have my hands in a lot of things, and I have an apparel company. Matter of fact, we're going to be relaunching that, and so I was already working with a lot of athletes, specifically MMA fighters, and they loved our gear, and but as they would move up to the UFC, they
could-
wanted to bring our stuff with them.
They couldn't.
But at the time, the UFC is like, well, they want to show their faces in here. It's like $50K just
Yeah.
to do that. And I was starting out, startup company by myself, and couldn't afford that. But it was basically kind of a natural fit. I had a gentleman, actually a good friend. He was a former Green Beret, black belt Aikido instructor, and he had moved back home. We were workout partners here in Dallas, but he moved back home to Nebraska. And his wellness facility, where he got massage and all these other things, had introduced ozone sauna therapy. And he did one session of it, and he called me up. He said, Angelo, you've got to try this. He said, it made my knees feel so much better. He had bad knees from jumping out of planes. And he says, you got to try this. I've had myself about 17 sports-related surgeries. I've done everything from football to bull riding. And he said, you got to try this. The guy's in Houston. You go down, check him out, see what you think. And so I called the guy up first. And just based on what he told me, I was drawn to it. It was just something there that told me, this is something I wanted to do too. And we hit it off, and
I got the same feeling when I did it, man. I got the same feeling.
Yeah.
I was kind of drawn to it after that.
Yeah, and I hadn't even done it. I actually sent a buddy of mine. He did a short stint in the NFL. He was an offensive lineman, and he had bad knees too. And I said, hey, he was going back and forth to Houston for pharmaceutical stuff. He was in pharmaceutical sales, and so he stopped in and tried it. And he told me the exact same thing. He said that range of motion in my knee was much better just after one session. I just felt great. So again, got with him, and basically what he did is got me set up. I got my equipment through him, and then based on the things he was doing as far as his research, he was working with medical doctors and nurses, basically doing unofficial studies on, how it worked with his clients.
Yeah.
And so he had a lot more knowledge. He had several years of knowledge, so that I was able to jump ahead on that. and really get a good foundation.
What makes it different who you learn it from? I mean,
It does.
It does, man. I mean, I kind of learned the wrong way at first, you know.
Right.
And I was like I told you when I was in one time. I mean, she had me in there doing it like 5 days a week, man, and that was just kind of overdoing it.
Wow.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What exactly does it kind of do? Is it like
sure? I'll give you the history on it too. So basically, the medical use of ozone has been around for about 130 years. The Germans perfected the medical use of it, and it was actually very common in the U.S. up until about the 1950s with the advent, of the AMA and Big Pharma, right? They actually used it.
Like most stuff that was good for you.
Right, exactly. But they used it during World War I to kill gangrene. And this is stuff that's, you can go out there and you can find the history of it. But basically what it does, just like it protects the Earth's atmosphere, ozone layer, everybody's always worried about holes in the ozone layer, they used to be. It does the same thing with the body. It protects the Earth from all these bad things coming in from outer space, right? Radiation, you name it. It actually does that with the body too. So when you're in this sauna that you're looking at, your body heats up. On average, we probably put it about 106 to 108 degrees. It depends on the individual. And then we pump in a mixture of oxygen. You see that gray unit down there? That's a oxygen regulator. Pump in a mixture of oxygen and then ozone. That little tin box up there generates ozone. And that mixture goes into the sauna with the steam. Your pores are open because you're hot and your body absorbs that. As soon as it gets into the bloodstream, that pure O3 breaks down into O2. You lose that molecule. It binds with toxins, destroys toxins. So it's a huge detoxer. And then you're left with an oxygen-rich body.
Okay.
So that's really beneficial for healing, recovery, preventative.
When I broke my leg that really bad, I went and sat like 3 times after my surgery.
I only asked because looking at it, it almost looked like one of those like cryo things, kind of
It
a little bit.
kinda-
And I thought it was kind of like a cold plunge.
It looks
type
like
of thing,
it's like an egg. It opens up and you get in there and sit down and they close the doors and
Oh,
you
I
wrap
understand
it tiles.
that. I just didn't know
that.
if it was like because
And
you
don't
said
get me
it's
started on
heat
cold
because it's
plunge.
more
Yeah,
it's more like
It's like a sauna.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering.
definitely heat.
Yeah, it's
okay,
heat.
yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Heat is actually much better for the body. There's a reason our body's internal is 98.6.
I did it 3 times during my leg, and it made my leg feel a lot better. And that was during the recovery. I hadn't even started rehab yet. But sleeping and breathing, it made me feel where when I got like 20 minutes afterwards for the maybe 24 hours. It made me almost feel like I didn't even need to breathe. It was like my chest was barely moving, but you can feel all the oxygen in your body.
And that's what I was going to say.
It's like your body doesn't need as much
right
of oxygen because it's so enriched. You just feel like you're barely breathing, but you're breathing normally. You're just not having to overbreathe. And that made me sleep so much better for a couple of nights.
Yes, and I always get that feedback with new clients. It's permeating your whole body, your brain, the lungs, everything. So, as I said, you're oxygen rich. And just a side note, I really want to get this out there is that so many people think ozone is toxic or it's bad for you because you hear about high ozone days on the news, right? Well, the reason that is because when there's a lot of pollution, the ozone in the atmosphere gets excited. So that ozone is protecting us from all those pollutants that are there. So yes, ozone is going to increase, but it's the pollutants that are high. It's not the ozone that's detrimental to us.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, yeah, because I don't know how often should you do it.
Well,
and I know that, and I know that they're.
I wasn't doing it correctly.
I know
that's
that.
for
I know
sure.
the situation you were in. I know what
and I'm
you're
telling
talking
you, man,
about.
I felt like a wet rag by Sunday, dog. Sometimes, I was worn out.
I mean, if you were, let's say, somebody that's my age, that's a smoker, that, let's say, works out 20 minutes a day or whatever, gets a little bit of exercise but doesn't sleep well. What would you? I mean, is it a weekly thing? Is it a monthly thing? Do you do it? Blast it for a couple of days and then go on a longer cycle?
So it can be too much of a good thing, right?
Right.
In the wellness industry, those that are knowledgeable and reasonable, we always say with everything, low and slow, right? But you get a lot of people out there say, "Hey, this is great for me. I'm gonna 10 times that," right? So to answer your question, if you're healthy, if you're generally healthy, you can do it 2, at the most 3 times a week, right?
Okay.
So someone like myself, I do it regularly 2 days a week, right? Now, if you have a chronic illness, so when I first started, I had people that were in treatment for cancer, chemo, all that, and they were doing their own research, and they came and found me. Mm-hmm. And so individuals like that, like the first lady that love her to death, and she did her research, came to me as a new client, and she was preparing for a surgery the following week. So she did 4 sessions in a row with me. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, she wrote a testimonial on our website. She had a skin condition. It was like some kind of rash or whatever. They had done a biopsy. She had it for several years. Mm-hmm. Couldn't tell her what it was, how to get rid of it. And we think it's from her treatment for the cancer. Anyway, she did 4 sessions in a row with me, and by the 4th session, it was gone. She couldn't believe it. But she did that in preparation for the surgery she was going to have for her cancer, because, again, you're going to recover much faster, heal much faster because of the extra oxygen in your system.
In your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times you do this stuff with other things. I mean, like I think what Brian's got up here, like the Beamer.
Yes.
You want to give us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Beamer is a proprietary brand. Their signal, they have a patented signal, which is what really makes the difference. And they've got 5 world patents. It's probably one of the most studied medical devices in the world. It's now it has a Class 2 registered. It's a Class 2 registered medical device. Okay. They've moved it from a Class 1 to a Class 2 back in, I think it was 22. It might have been 22 or 21. So this product here is really a magic bullet for me, because what he's doing right there is it's sending a pulsed electromagnetic field through your body. That's what Beamer is.
Yeah.
There are many pulsed electromagnetic field products out there, but I chose this one because it's the cream of the crop. NASA at one time had signed an agreement with them to put it in the astronauts' equipment. Mm-hmm. Because it's that effective. So I chose that because it's the best one out there.
Yeah.
So I also had the idea, a lot of people use these modalities independent of each other.
This is what I found fascinating, is what you told me about this.
Yes. So I know that medical doctors, because I had read the data, medical doctors were using this with hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
And studies show that ozone therapy is actually more effective and more efficient at getting oxygen in the body than even hyperbaric. So my idea was, hey, if that's the case, then what this does, which it simply put, Beamer opens up the microcirculatory system. That's the smallest.
Like your capillaries, things like that?
Exactly.
Yes. Okay.
So, matter of fact, I had a video, but it's a little thing. I wish I'd have got it up there, but
that's how I sent it to me. We'll put it up with our stuff. We'll put it up. Send
Sounds
it to
good.
Me. Yeah.
But it opens up that microcirculatory system, so that enhances what the ozone does, because you're going to be able to absorb more of that oxygen than ozone.
Yeah.
And I've had really good results using those two together. So I work with pro athletes. This is the guy that was just up there. That's Brandon Cooks, plays for the Dallas Cowboys.
For the Cowboys.
Yeah. And so, matter of fact, the NFL endorses that product, the players, alumni and all that. And so they actually get reimbursed because, as a matter of fact, my cousin, his name is Antoine Randall, and
but
he got one from me, and he uses it regularly.
They use that for the Beamer chair because I've seen a bunch of the studies from the Sweden area, that over there, where they were talking about this chair. They've had people, cancer cells shrink from the Beamer chairs. They've had people. There's been a lot of weird stuff with that Beamer chair. Not in and what I mean is in a good way, that medicine can't
Right. And so
give you a reason why.
and this is where I have to I walk a fine line, right?
Yeah, you got to be careful in how you present
and
it.
alternative medicine.
Well, I'm just saying there's data there that supports
Yes.
that. If you don't want to go look for the data, I've looked for the data because I've used that. I use that with my leg too, and my back, and I've used it for my neck.
And you're making a crucial point because there's tons of medical studies in other countries. But those things here, they haven't really done a lot of medical studies. So then it's like, okay, it's not done here. So
They have to be done privately too. I mean,
it's about funding and
that's
being
what I was
able-
going to ask.
yeah.
Well, it's about how does the FDA get their cut first. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Remember, that's
My
what
buddy does not like government.
Unsweetened.
And then you're handed
So
off.
there's no sugar with this. Well, let's just cut to the chase. Because it's the same thing as one of the castor oil or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's because nobody ever could put a patent on it. That's why the FDA won't approve it.
Okay, so that point.
That's
Same thing with ozone.
If you can't control a little bit of it,
You can't patent it. The pharmaceutical companies can't patent it, so they can't make the money they would normally make.
so why would they get approval to use it?
Right, and again, it's so effective in a lot of other countries. It's commonplace. Medical doctors
Very
use it all the time.
commonplace. Once I started reading and actually into the literature, there was a lot of people in Europe and Asia that use it. A lot of doctors.
Well, that's why I wanted to get you on here. I mean, more information you get out to people about this stuff, the more it's going to become looked at and okay, maybe we need to study this more. Maybe we need to do a little bit more testing.
And that's what I've found is that with what I do, I always tell people I'm still ahead of the curve, right? But it's tough when you're ahead of the curve and people, everybody jumps on a lot of different fads, and you mentioned cold plunging and all that. There's actually a really great reel on Instagram.
Float tank.
Well, they talk about that. They say basically if you're doing cold plunging every day, you're actually reversing the effects that you're looking for. You're aging the body because it's in a critical state. It thinks it's dying. So you're increasing cortisol. It's great for inflammation if you do it maybe once or twice a week. When you're doing it every day like these fads are, it's reversing the effects that you're actually looking for. And the same with ozone.
Yeah.
If you're using ozone every day, it actually ages the cells if you're not in
if
a
you're
critical,
overusing it.
Right.
Luckily, it was only for a short period of time. So
Right.
So-
I've had a client. She was a client that came to me from another facility where they had a nurse and everything, and basically they were trying to sell her a little too much stuff, right?
Yeah.
So she was doing these enemas, all these cleanses and stuff, and it was just too much on her body and doing too much ozone. And then finally, someone there looked at her blood under the microscope and said, your cells are looking pretty bad. You need to
Damaging.
back off. So at least they had the wherewithal to say that. And then she started coming to me, and that's when I, talked to her about that too, because so many people, especially that are in the alternative world, they're doing some of everything. And I always try to educate my clients on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, because this is not pharmaceutical, right? Everything takes time. If it's natural, it's going to take time for your body to heal and reverse. But the mistake they make is they jump from modality to modality to modality. They're spending a lot of money, and I'm like, if you're consistent and you allow this to work, you'll get some phenomenal benefits just from doing this. I'm not adverse to any of these other things, but it's like, this is what we do.
It's Vivian and I opened the CBD store 6-7 years ago now. 'Cause, before anybody, there was 5, 6, 7
50 of them
around
on
the
every.
store. Now they're everywhere. They sell to
50-mile
7-Eleven
range.
and all that other stuff.
Yes.
When we opened that store, I learned everything I could. Everything. And every minute somebody wasn't there, I was reading an article about something or
That was me.
talking to somebody.
Right.
Because when people came in, I wanted to be able, there was stigmas behind it already. You shouldn't be doing this. It's not good for you. How much should I take? That was people used to ask that. Ryan worked at the store. People used to ask that all the time when they first bought. How much do I take?
Right.
Start off slow and work your way up.
Low and slow.
Don't go home and drink half a bottle, but once you start getting, people would start coming back to the store. Mm-hmm. And first of all, it was the product, like you said, if you have the right product. And I thought, and at that point in time, we did have the right product.
Right.
And people were coming back going, this stuff is crazy. I'm Parkinson's, I'm not shaking, but I'm, this, on and on and on and on. But it was knowing, because people kept coming back to the store, or new people would come that had been told by somebody else, said, no, you need to go over and talk to this guy over here. He knows what he's talking about. You go into some of these other places, you walk in, and there's an 18-year-old kid that they hired behind the counter. He's there to get his, $12 an hour or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. He's not there to teach you or to show
how this stuff works.
Most people, like you said, most people jump into the fad or whatever it is, instead of going through. In most of these natural products, you're going to have to use for 2 to 4 weeks sometimes before it even gets into your system or built up enough in your system to do anything.
Right.
And then you have to work with it. It's even if the pharmaceuticals, you should take those if you need them.
Right.
But you should get off of them as quickly as you don't need them.
And that's what we preach too, because I don't tell people, I never interfere with what their doctor has prescribed.
No, when they used to come in, they said, well, should I stop taking my medicine? I said, whoa. No. You do not stop taking your medication or anything else.
Right.
You need to talk with your doctor and determine how you're feeling later. Now, when those people would go back and their blood pressure was 40 points lower.
Got their blood test back, and
all of
all the levels have
and then
changed.
the doctor's going, I don't
let
understand.
him make the adjustments.
The guy was going, the guy's telling him now, I'm using CBD, and all of a sudden all my numbers are coming back to the right stuff. So I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't want to do the pharmaceutical. Now, that's all up to you. You just have to open your eyes and do your own investigative work, and you have to know your body.
You do. And
each body's different, too.
Yeah. To me, that was the biggest compliment I can get, as far as, me giving him knowledge that, he was reliable. Mm-hmm. And like I say, I have clients tell me, Angelo, I'm so glad you're passionate and you delve in all this stuff, because it just cuts out all the work for them. And I've always been that way. I don't ever want to say anything that is inaccurate. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to make sure before I speak, and I'll give them bits or morsels of knowledge and nuggets, but they make their decision.
Yeah, how you apply it, you need to decide for yourself, because like I said, each body's different.
Most people have gotten to the point where they're lazy. Mm-hmm. They would rather go to a doctor and the doctor tell them,
somebody tell them what to do.
You've got the flu. You need to take this, and this. They don't want to go and look, or go research or listen. They want to do.
Half the problem, you go online and look, and it tells you you're dying.
Well, it depends on what you're looking up.
Don't use WebMD, man, when you're sick. Do not use WebMD.
You might not get to sleep that night.
Yeah, you got also a pain patch too that you use.
And that also segues, because with the company I work with on that, everyone is different. Their DNA is different. They respond differently. Heal differently. And usually we tell them for every decade of age, it's going to take that many months to start to see results and turn around.
Yeah.
Again, if you're consistent, and this is not a Band-Aid like a lot of pharmaceuticals are. So
quick fix.
People are expecting, exactly.
They're expecting something immediately.
Right. And that's just not how natural remedies work, but they do work. And the other key point I make to them is that whether it's Beamer that I use, the PEMF technology, or ozone, it doesn't heal or it doesn't cure anything.
No.
It puts your body in a state where it can heal itself, right? So
gives your body a fighting chance.
I want to go back and get X-rays, because when I went looking for all this for my mom, I did it myself just to see how it was for her, and I did it, like 3-4 sessions. I think it was about the fourth session. Now about the third session, I really felt the results, because I have a torn labrum, and I used to have a heat in my head on my back every night. Mm-hmm. And after about that fourth session, man, I didn't have one, and I haven't had one on there for years now.
Right.
And so I'm interested to see if there's any kind of tissue that has healed, or cartilage that has healed within that.
So with Beamer, actually, one of the warnings is that if you need something surgically repaired, do not use that, because it starts the healing process immediately. Mm-hmm. So, You know, it
So,
works. You,
I don't want no fake hip. I don't need to go through all that surgery, man.
People will be like, "Well, I don't feel anything," and because sometimes we joke, we should have put some kind of vibration,
something
thing
to make
there.
it jiggle
Yeah,
or
but I'm
something.
like, do you feel your circulation? No, you're not usually aware of that, but that's what it's doing is speeding up the circulation and enhancing all that. But
It's actually opening up the micro capillaries to let blood flow to places
Correct.
it doesn't usually flow or gets very minimal blood flow.
Blood flow.
Correct, and that's the beauty of it. There's even evidence of neuropathy issues that being reversed. I know with my own dad, it really helped him with some neuropathy issues. So I have some pretty phenomenal cases that it's on. People wouldn't even believe it if they heard it, but I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
There's a lot of them out there.
But you were talking about the patches. So these patches.
Yeah, I want you to go over the
So
technology.
this is like a pain patch.
Yeah, but it's all natural.
Well,
it's not
they
something.
they have a pain patch, but it's not focused on pain. So it's a light technology patch, and the name of the company is called Lifewave. So, and let me back up just a little bit. I do 4 things in my business, my wellness business, that I know are solid. I know they work because, especially when you deal with pro athletes,
People that depend on you.
people like that, there's a huge trust factor, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel responsible for not steering people wrong.
Sorry, guys. That's me.
All right, Clint Eastwood, way to go.
So I was actually introduced to these patches probably right before COVID, and I had people send me some to try out. I actually used them.
Is it online?
You have to get them through the company. It's still a direct sales marketing.
Do they have like a website?
Oh yeah, they have a
mean,
website. There's a ton of information on it.
Ryan, can you
scientific
pull up the
information.
website?
I can send you the link.
It depends on if this is them.
Lifewave?
Yeah, that's Lifewave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew he was on it, man. Gee.
Just got to wake him up every
Give him a
once in
minute,
a while.
give him a
Make
minute.
sure
I
he's
was-
still awake.
he was rolling before you were even
I was
rolling.
trying to
He was
find
trying.
the pain patch that he was talking about. I didn't know.
So yeah, there is a pain patch, but let me go back a little bit. So the technology was developed originally for the Department of Defense and the Navy SEALs, and that original patch dealt with stress and which one of the side effects of the benefits of that patch was not just the stress, which dealt with cortisol, but also inflammation. And so that was a very beneficial patch, but it basically works on the body's neural pathways, almost like acupuncture.
Neural
and all
pathways,
that, right?
okay, yeah.
So the X39 is like their
See
foundation
one out.
patch, and that one stimulates the body to produce stem cells. So it stimulates the body. Let me take that back. It stimulates the body to produce what's called the GHK copper peptide. Okay, so that's instrumental in stem cell production, repair, all that. Now, disclaimer: we can't even really talk about stem cells anymore either because the FDA has clamped down on that. But that was the original.
Yeah, we're not promoting this.
Yeah, that was the original technology
Disclaimer.
and how it worked. Okay. So what we talk about now is that it works off these there's crystals in these patches, and it works off the body's own infrared light. Okay.
Is it one of these products up here?
Oh yeah, go back. Yeah, so those are the X39, like I say, is the foundational. X49, matter of fact, I have those on right now. It's called the Performance Package.
Lifewave patch.
Yep. I use those every day, especially when I train. And they have been really instrumental in my daily life. Because I have to walk the walk, right?
Yeah.
When you're dealing with elite level athletes, they don't want some decrepit fat slob telling them what's best, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in there training hard and working out. I'm around elite athletes all day, every day at throw a shout out to Hidden Gym in Allen. And I'm at that location, and then I'm also at another location, a phenomenal location called React Neural Rehab Facility. And of course, that's in Addison and Beltline.
Do you have a website for your ozone there?
Yeah, I sure do.
Yeah.
You want?
Yeah,
I
well, I'm
can
not-
throw it up for them so that they can
So
see it.
it's just look up 03zonedallas.com.
03 zone.
Yeah,
03
Oscar 3, Dallas. I'm sorry, Oscar 3 zone, Dallas.com.
This one right here.
That's it.
That's it.
I can throw it up there for you.
Oh
so you can
yeah,
see.
there we go.
Yeah. But,
Can we accept the cookies?
but yeah,
Pull up the
the
gallery.
technology has
Pull up the gallery.
been a really key component to.
Oh, wait a minute.
So it's kind of really
Yeah, Miss Universe.
So
Or Miss USA.
Oh, man.
Holy smokes, we got all kinds of people.
Yeah, that's just a few of them. Those are some older ones. This young lady here, she's running track. She was actually headed, in training for the Olympics, and she got run into on the track. She was actually standing still. Another athlete ran into her and knocked her down. She got a very severe bruise on her tailbone, and she couldn't even hardly walk. And so her coach, her former coach, who I work with a lot in junior track teams, he sent her to see me. And
I was gonna say that's
we did Beamer.
What's his name?
Which one?
The guy right there.
Holloway. Man.
Yeah, Holloway. Gee, man, he's
Yeah.
nasty.
You know, he
I bet he's funny though.
very funny. He's like, Angelo, because I was sponsoring him with treatment at the time, and he's like, man, I know you're sponsoring me, but I don't want to give away one of my best kept secrets, because he talked about how he broke through his barrier as far as his endurance and all that stuff, because again, you're oxygen rich.
Yeah.
And this is actually when I was early on when I first started,
I heard a lot of the MMA guys or a lot of fighters in other countries use this a day before the fight so that you fill your body up with O2.
It
so
lasts
you're
12
ready
to 14
go.
hours. And the way we do it is legal because it's non-invasive. So it's just like any other sauna. You're absorbing the heat. Now, if you do it, there's other ways to administer ozone.
yeah, now pass on that.
Yeah.
Right. It's intravenous.
Yeah.
And so I believe in the UFC's rule book, it's illegal to use it in that way.
Intravenously.
Yeah, there's other sports and they've gotten into trouble.
That wasn't the one I was talking about. So
Okay. They'll pull blood, inject ozone, and they'll either store it or put it back. A pint of blood.
Plasma ejections.
Yeah, and it's man, it works. It's effective. Otherwise, they wouldn't consider it illegal.
Platelets.
well, I imagine it would be. I mean, it's like a direct upload to your body. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
boom here.
Talk about a biohack. That's a biohack.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Couldn't imagine that.
But yeah, we added the patches, so that was kind of inadvertently. Like I say, I'd been using it myself. I really wanted to know or be secure in recommending it to clients, and then I had a young man that came in to see me. He was fairly new, and we had started on our regimen, Beamer and Ozone, and it was helping him. But he had his experience was he had fallen out of a two-story dorm, fallen off the back balcony, and he never got any real medical help for it. So he's like, I haven't been able to sleep through the night for 12 years, severe sciatic pain, all that. And so one day he came and said, Angelo, he said, it's working, but it's like, I just need something to help me even sleep, And I said, I tell you what, try this patch. And I gave him one of my pain patches. It's called Ice Wave. And it's specifically for pain. It will relieve the pain within 30 seconds. Okay. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't put anything in your body. It's not the X39 or anything. It's specifically to relieve pain. And so I gave him some, and that was on a Tuesday. And he came back on Thursday. He said, Angelo, can I please have some more? I do public speaking, and I just need to get through the weekend. He goes, I promise you I'll get my own. He said, this is the first time in 12 years I've been able to sleep through the night. And so that told me right there, in working with my mentor with that company, she gave me other ways to be able to use those patches. And so it's been...
And those are all natural too, aren't they?
Again, yeah, they don't put anything in your body. They cause stimulate your body to do what it needs to do. So there's no contraindication.
What your body should do.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I wanted to back up too on the ozone. Ozone is what's called a bioresponse modulator.
Okay.
So the way we use it, especially, it's And that means that if your body, your immune system is overactive, it's going to calm it down. If it's underactive, it's going to ramp it up.
Okay.
So it's balance. Everything in nature is about
It's
balance,
about balance,
right?
yeah.
And that's
Okay.
exactly what these products or these modalities do. The Beamer, ozone.
A lot of people say ozone's good. Like if you say you feel like you're getting a cold,
Yes.
go do ozone
Very
right
much
then
so,
because
right.
you're wanting to increase.
I did it when I got COVID, so I mean that was just me.
And
you
that's
wanna
that's
increase
usually
your
my
body's
Yeah.
immune system and kick it into high gear right then when you're not feeling good.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
it
right.
lasted it lasted for me about like 3 days, and I was.
And that's
I
what
feel a lot better.
You know, that's my spiel when people first come to me. So all the things that ozone does, it's boosts your immune system, kills all viruses and bacteria. You used to could find it on all the gallon water jugs. They would say
Yeah.
ozonate it for purity, but all of a sudden now I can't find that. Right? I don't know why, but I think someone did.
Fluoridated.
But they use ozone to kill all the bad stuff in our water supplies. So, but
Why don't
they
leave it?
why won't they approve it, right? Go figure.
Huh.
Anti-inflammatory, detoxes, boosts the immune system, kills all viruses and bacteria, increases range of motion, and again,
Helps
it's
with
preventative.
hangovers. I just want to put that in. It was like the second time I'd use it. I think I was a little hungover, and I was like, "Wow, I feel a lot better."
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'll see, like, you'll attest that when you come in, he's sitting on a white towel, right? So everybody's sitting on a white towel, and some people get embarrassed the first time they do it because they see these streaks on the towel, and it's like, okay,
That's good.
right,
Yeah.
right. You
No,
want
I
that's
came in last
toxic.
time. I had streaks, man. I had streaks. I hadn't been in to see him in like probably about 3 weeks,
Yeah,
and then
the first
maybe a
time I
month.
did it, I got up.
That's
and I was
toxins.
like, oh
So,
my God,
yeah,
it was
no.
like my back
So,
and lower
yeah.
legs,
Yeah.
that area, it was really bad.
Yeah,
Like, I
you'll
was
see
like, wow.
3 streaks where your thighs and balls are, right?
Yeah.
And I actually have a chart, and depending on the color that those streaks are on the towel, I can tell you what's going on, because those are the areas that it's helping your body to detox, right? It's helping the organs. It doesn't mean necessarily there's anything wrong, but it's like you're detoxing there more. Right. And so, like, orange will represent somebody that's having issues with their joints. I saw that the person didn't even tell me, first time they left real quick, and they came back again. I'm like, we noticed you had a lot of orange on your towel the last time, and then they revealed that they were having arthritic issues, and this was a young person too.
Really?
But in using our services, they were able to overcome that in pretty short order.
Right.
Yeah.
So very accurate. Very
Yeah,
accurate.
yeah.
Sounds like you're doing a lot of good work.
Trying to. I had a good friend of mine. She's one of the country's top toxicologists, and she told me, she said, Angelo, you're doing really good things here, but she said, keep your head low, low and.
Hey Ryan, I got that other picture up there. I think I had for him. Just picture him. Will you put that up there? Just so I can. We gotta show the world. We gotta show the world what he looks like when he's really doing. That's what he's doing. When he's
there we go.
There you go. That's beast mode right there. He's working it. So
Yeah, I gotta take
he
care of
does.
business.
He practices what you preach.
Yeah,
I see you. I see you.
That makes me want to get back in the gym.
So,
And I've been through a lot myself, as far as medically.
yeah, I know you went through an incident not so long ago.
Yeah, I had a minor surgery, and right after that, a week later, I developed PE, pulmonary embolism, in both my lungs, and had to be rushed to the hospital. And because of the heparin they were administering to get address those clots, it made the initial surgery start to bleed internally, and they didn't catch it, so I almost bled out. They actually called a code blue on me.
Oh my God.
And I
Didn't know it was that.
couldn't see, but I could hear them say, I can't find a pulse. And
Yeah, that's doesn't
Well,
sound
that takes you to a whole nother level right there. Then.
I was in
Where did they say
intensive
the
care.
embolism or they came from? Do they know?
They do not know. They there wasn't any necessary sign that it came from my legs or anything. And I was doing what I was supposed to do. I had the socks before and all that, but they could not tell me. They said there's no real evidence or why this came. I had like 17 surgeries before that and never ever had an issue with clotting. It just got me this time. It's something surgeons are always concerned about. and it's just happened to be my time.
That's why they tell you they got to get you up and moving like right after surgery.
Right,
Don't they, usually?
and I did that, all that, and it still happened.
Well, we're glad you're back. We're
Yeah,
glad,
man.
we're glad you're here, man. Glad
you
you're
know
here.
what?
So
You're-
the clotting happened after the surgery?
Yeah, it happened. Matter of fact, I was the day before I was supposed to be released from that surgery. That's when it happened. I woke up in the middle of the night. It felt like somebody hit me in the ribs. Wow. And then it continued into that morning. It just kept getting worse. And actually, another friend of mine that goes to our gym, very influential guy in the fitness world, he had suffered from clots in his legs maybe a year or so before that, and that's what was on my mind. I thought about that because of how painful it was, and I'm like, this has got to be clots, and you know, of course, when they got me to the hospital, they confirmed it.
Yeah.
But the what is it, the good news about that is that what they couldn't believe how much or how fast I bounced back when I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
They were concerned about my kidneys failing, all of that. Because
So
of
did
what
he
they were
have any
having to do.
problem with clots before that?
No.
So
never.
he hadn't had surgery or anything like that?
No, that was his. He was in the hospital for something specific and developed those.
'cause
And they knew his were in his legs. And
That's been out there for a little bit now.
yeah. Because like I say, in years past, they were always concerned about that, but I never had any issue.
Yeah.
And I just remember him talking about how painful it was, and that's what was hitting me. You know, I've had a lot of.
Well, it's a lot of it's that preventative. To me, I call it preventative medicine. You know, it's things you do before you actually have to go to the doctor.
Right.
Because
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, and this is the way I try to explain to my dad, because I'm trying to get him to go to do ozone with you here in the Beamer. You
Yeah.
know, and so I tell him, you know, think of it this way: if you're spending money here, and you're spending less here, then you have to spend here.
Right.
Isn't it better to be over here? So
It's
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
that's kind of the way I look
human
at it.
nature.
And I,
Yeah,
It's-
we
it's-
are.
sorry, it's
We
human
put
nature.
things off till it becomes a problem,
no.
or we don't look at things till we.
and I even had a very good
It's-
client.
Everybody- with it.
Everybody wants to rush through it about certain things. You know, they want do.
Yeah.
But yet they'll stand in line at Starbucks in their car for 25 minutes waiting for their coffee.
Right.
They want
Or
that
they'll
immediate
go to
gratification.
Wendy, they'll go
Yeah.
to Subway and they'll stand in line for 40 minutes to get a sandwich. But, you know, when they want something for their health, it's a boxer. Boxer just doesn't walk into a ring, prepares for 6 weeks to 6 months, depending on how
Right.
long he's been out of training.
Right.
You prepare your body. If you keep your body in that state, you don't have to do something like that every day.
Right.
But if you're taking care of your body, you're eating the right stuff, the right minerals, the right vitamins, taking the right stuff, and doing the right things to keep your body healthy, then your body will normally stay healthy. It's the problem is most
That's
of
true.
us don't
That's so
keep our
true.
bodies healthy.
Right.
So then we wonder why we get sick. It's because
You go in behind the 8 ball. right?
correct.
And it's not going to again. It doesn't prevent things from happening to you.
No.
It lessens the
chances.
occurrences, right? But when it does, your body will be prepared to bounce back.
Bounce back
and that's
easier.
what I try to.
And you
explain.
bounce back a lot quicker than you would if you're not using, if you're using some, you know.
Right.
Most of the times, even if you're taking the pharmaceuticals, and I'm not bashing the pharmaceutical department, but a lot of times you take that, and half the time you feel, you know, when I got home with my leg, it was like pain pills, just get through the pain. It was like the
Yes.
pain's not that bad to me. I can take the pain.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them. I told her, I said, is it going to get worse than this? No, it shouldn't get any worse than that. When I was leaving the hospital, I said, then no, I don't. No, there's no reason for.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if you prepare your body and your mind and you take care of your body, you know your own body, you know what you can take and what you can't take and what you should do and what you shouldn't do.
That's exactly right.
Well, and a lot of it too, I think, has to do too with our food and in the way what we eat. I think on top of what the medicine does, we need to kind of include that food part of it we put in our bodies. I mean, as you guys have probably read, I mean, you're slowly seeing things on the news and just TikTok or whatever, all kinds of stuff out there about,
Yeah.
you know, preservatives, you know, stuff we've been, you know,
mean,
these
you
fish
can-
sticks
you-
we've been
you
growing
can-
up our kids on, and chicken nuggets.
I
And,
mean, we could do a whole section about that
So-
because you can go
Right.
into
Oh, yeah.
into food
Whole nother
labels
topic.
from the United States and then take the exact same food labels from Europe
Right.
and just look at there's 3 or 4 ingredients in Heinz ketchup.
Look at Doritos. They're outlawed
They're-
in many
Ritz
countries.
crackers.
Oh, wow.
Ritz,
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Ritz crackers is like 23
crazy.
countries. Skittles, like 45 different countries they're outlawed, and they won't even let it.
But here, it's like, oh, that's another food group, right? So
When I was young, you go into the grocery store, or into the gas station. There was no 7-Elevens like that. That was until we got a little bit older. You went to the gas station, they had a soda machine, or blah blah blah. Now you go and you can walk into 7-Eleven. You can get anything you want,
and that's where they make most of their money.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's
So,
why
yeah.
they did it. But you can get anything you want there, and there's nothing healthy in there in almost any of these stores.
So okay, so that takes me. I said we do 4 basic things. That's our foundation. So we do the Beamer, which is PEMF. We do ozone, and that's actually kind of a double whammy because it's heat. Heat alone is a great detoxer.
Yeah.
But when you add ozone to it, you're getting a double whammy. So we do the ozone, PEMF. We do the light technology, and then the other thing we do, I teamed up with a company several years ago, and they make custom DNA-based supplements for the individual. So we get a DNA sample from the individual. We send it into a third-party lab. They will actually give you around a 35-page lab report on your wellness, health and wellness, based on 18 different SNPs, or what you would call genes. And these are genes, they're called actionable genes, because they can be affected positively or negatively by your lifestyle, your diet, nutrition, all that. We always say that your genetics loads the gun, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? And so that's one of the things we recommend to our clients that have, especially if they're dealing with chronic issues. It's great anyway, but it's a customized supplement to address what your body is saying you're lacking from birth.
Right. So what basically a DNA test or the blood test is going to tell you your vitamin C levels low, vitamin D low, magnesium, zinc.
Well, it's going to be on
all the way across the board.
They have a selected group of SNPs or genes that they address
What they're
that
looking for.
most
As I
affect.
say, I wonder. I don't know enough about that type of medicine, but aren't they? Are there kind of classifications of how genes, what genes are?
Well, these specific ones are what most affect the public across the spectrum, right?
Okay.
Things that people generally have issues with, where diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, those kind of things, and
show
the
up.
genes that affect that, right?
Okay.
Things that deal with your A1C, all of that. So those are the 18 different ones that they focus on, which is more than any other company does, because it's a very expensive process. Matter of fact, I'm actually same guy I'm working with, a testosterone optimizer. He developed the DNA supplement, and then he sold the technology to a local gentleman, local billionaire. He actually has a company that puts together a lot of different supplements for other companies.
Okay.
But this one was his baby, and he owns that technology because it's very effective. And like I say, we work with things that are proven scientifically. They're not just alternative hit or miss. They've been scientifically proven as well. Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
You got a full boat, full hands on deck. Wow.
No, and I think he's leaving from here to a dinner. So I mean, guys on the go 24/7
Man,
here.
the
Man.
Studio out of the studio.
It's been a blistering month, actually. So it's been nonstop past couple of weeks. I flew to Pittsburgh for the Cowboys Steelers game.
Yeah.
Then the very following week, like I say, my cousin was in. He's a receivers coach for Detroit. And, so we went to that game because he always gets his, all access field passes and stuff, which is a blessing. It's been one thing after another, but it's all good stuff, man. We have a lot of things on our plate, but they're, really cool things that are getting ready to really take off. So
That's
Good.
cool,
That
that's
means
cool.
that means we can have you back over.
Yeah,
and
you can
over.
give us
I would
give us
love
some more
to,
info.
I would definitely love to come back.
So maybe. And I know we've gone a little longer than we anticipated.
No, we didn't.
As far as this part of the topic, so we may slide right in here to we go from fiction to science now. You know,
okay. No, we really haven't. I mean, that was I love it. Stuff needs to be explained. It needs to be explained the right way. And I'm not going to shortchange this by saying, hey, we need this or we got to The podcast has always been, we talk about everything we need to talk about. It doesn't matter what the time limit is or where we get to. And I want to make sure everybody understands exactly what he's working on and how it can benefit them. But they need to look into their own stuff. Find somebody, if they're not in your area, then that's another thing.
Well, we'll put up at the end of this podcast all his information
some of these
stuff
people
like
that are
that.
Understanding. Because
they can reach
I
out
basically
contact,
gave the 30,000-foot view, but if people want to get into the minutia, they want to ask me more
questions. Yeah, but if we got let's say somebody's on here that's New York City, if they came on here, they made a comment, hey, is there anybody in New York City? Do you have anybody up there? You guys, as this grows, people are going to have to, start connecting with each other.
We don't want to go too far, man. I know we don't want to run out of state all the time.
I mean, there's other people that do this, but you got to find other people that are as good at it as you and as.
Let me add this. So that's the thing. There aren't any other people that are actually putting those two,
all of them together, both of them,
those two modalities, the base of it, because that's one of the reasons I had clients that would travel or either move away and they want to get it done. They can't find anybody that does it.
Right.
You can find somebody that does ozone, or you can find somebody that does Beamer.
Yeah.
And then you have to know. You do have to know what your mixtures are when you're dealing with ozone, because, and that's another thing. You can't just. There's people that they'll set up shop in their house and, hey, come on, they'll try to start a business with it, but you have to really be careful because you can also damage people. Mm-hmm. I attended a medical conference back in 2021 with Dr. His name is Dr. Schallenberger. He's a world-renowned oncologist, and he actually founded the American Academy of Ozone Therapy. So he hosted a medical conference here in Las Colinas, and it was some of the top doctors and scientists or PhDs from around the country, if not the world, that were at this conference. So I really try to always doing continued education.
Continued education.
Yeah. Learning.
So you can never stop learning.
Right.
Never stop learning. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you'll fall behind the curve.
When you find something out new, it may change your operating
you'll
or
fall behind the curve.
Your mindset about something.
If you don't keep ahead of the game, you'll fall behind the curve very quickly.
Right. And you don't want to hurt people.
No.
No.
Because that really sets you back too. So
I feel good, man. You done well with me, so I feel good.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate that.
I did want.
What you got for us?
Tell you about my voting experience.
Okay.
Oh, you've done the early voting, have you?
Yes.
All right.
Ryan and I and Viv actually we went and early voted. It was crazy because there was a lot of people in line. A lot of people. 2 or 3 days ago they flashed the number up on the board. There was almost 11 million people that voted already.
Wow. That's a lot.
Almost 11 million people. But, so we go up to the rec center. That's where it is here.
Okay.
And we're standing in line. We're walking in. And one of the election officials was there while we were standing in line. So I decided to ask her a question. I said, I would like a printout or a receipt of my ballot.
Okay.
We don't do that. I said, well, okay, so why can't I have a receipt? Well, the machine doesn't do that. I said, okay. I said, can I take a picture of it with my phone? Or I didn't ask the question. I said, well, I'm going to take a picture of it with my phone. And the lady pointed to the sign that was right here that had just been stapled to the wall 10 minutes before that says, no camera or photography. All camera and photography use is prohibited.
That's what we were told too.
And I said, that says prohibited. And the lady looked at me and said, so? And I said, that's prohibited. That means if you don't like it, you don't have to do it. Or, not that, I didn't mean it that way. But you're asking me, please don't, by saying that. Because if it was a law, it would say prohibited by law. Then it would have the law code underneath it to where you go. So there is no law that I can't take a picture in here. We're in a public room where anybody in public can walk in. And I said, how is it not my constitutional right that I can't take a picture of my own ballot before you take it.
That's a good point.
Well, I don't care if I want to go home and print it out and put it in a box so nobody sees, or I don't care if you go home and put it on Twitter. That's your personal right to do whatever you want to. So she said, so then she brought the boss of the election over.
Okay.
And I said, I want to take a picture. No, see what it says right there, prohibited. No cameras. I said, what about that camera, and I pointed to the 11 cameras around us.
That's what I thought was absurd when he told me that.
And
it's technically illegal, but there's no penalty in Texas for it. At least stated.
Okay, show me the law, the state of Texas law that says you cannot take a picture of your election card. Please show me that law.
Are you gonna give us some correction here?
So I asked him about the 10 cameras, and his answer to me, I said, are those on? His answer to me was, I don't know. And my next question immediately after that was, are they supposed to be? And his next answer was, I'm not sure about that. And he turned around and walked away. So then we went, filled out our thing, and then you go over to a machine.
See, you're just a troublemaker.
Well, we go over to the machine, and you lay your ballot down, and it into the machine, and the thing says, it pops up a waving flag, and it says, you voted. And the little old man was sitting there. I said, do I get a receipt? And he said, no. And I said, how do I know I voted? He said, you got a sticker.
I knew that was coming.
See, why doesn't it pop up on the screen and show you your votes so that you can hit accept? What happens if the machine didn't scan it right? It doesn't even give you a chance. Everything else in our life has accept. I'm not a robot. Press this, move the picture over here. But our ballot that you're voting for, it scans. It doesn't show you on the screen, this is who you voted for. It just pops up a waving flag, says your vote has been registered. That's it.
I did find that kind of weird, though.
I asked the little man. He goes,
like
well, your vote's been registered, and I said, but for who?
And I don't like the fact that I can't take a picture or have some kind of recognition of my vote or something.
Yeah, tell me why that would. Do you have
vote.
any reason why taking a picture of your ballot would be a problem?
Right, it's
for
your
anybody.
Ballot.
Yeah.
The only thing they let you do is review it, and then after that,
yeah,
I
guess his concern and a lot of people's concern is, once it goes into that machine, how do we know that it didn't change that ballot?
Right. Everybody.
But then again, my problem comes back to after that is, okay, well, how are you going to track that vote to your vote? If you had a copy of a piece of paper.
That's my whole question. What just having a picture of my ballot is not going to.
I'm sure somebody will let you guys know. I think maybe of course, it's all attached to your driver's license or whatever ID.
Social security number. That's true. Once you do have, it does have that stuff up there when you go in, doesn't it?
Because they have to verify.
It records that you voted, but it doesn't tie it to your stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because all the voting is done
anonymously.
So, like, if you had to come back,
your vote is not tied to you technically.
It's not.
It
tied
just
to that.
when they take like your
number.
ID or whatever, they mark you as like, hey, you voted.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
That's right. I was starting to wonder. Well, how do they get all those people that fake vote and stuff? Or come in and vote and not supposed to vote?
When
they tally it. I guess they got their name on a list.
Like in the other ones, they used like dead people and things like that.
Yeah.
Like what they say, like
better be careful.
A certain amount of
better be careful.
YouTube might take this down.
We already have one YouTube.
We don't want to be
taken down.
Yeah, we don't need to be censored today.
We already have one.
Yeah, but it's not. This isn't like a new thing. It's happened in almost every election.
Well, I'll give you my lowdown when I go. I'm going to go next week, so we'll see how it goes out there.
Well, it's just funny because that friend of mine that I posted on my Facebook page, she's in a different county.
Yeah.
And they got a receipt. The little thing prints out. She said that when it pops up, every county's different depending on what county. And it's so funny that like Dallas, Denton, Harris, Austin, all the big ones are the ones that don't give you a receipt. But if you go out to the country, they give you a receipt. But those, they've only got 300,000 people out there. They don't want to do it in the big city because it's a waste of money to them. But how do you don't have a receipt? You got a sticker.
Yeah.
I think he's just pissed off about the sticker.
I brought the sticker home.
think
It
he's
wasn't the
just pissed
sticker.
off.
I wanted the sticker
It was
to
just a
show
plain
that I voted.
little white sticker said I voted, didn't it? Didn't
Yeah,
have no
that's-
special
no, it
flowers
didn't.
or
No, it just
balloons or
says,
shit
I
on
voted.
there.
Collin County, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
I said I put it on and it said I voted. And I needed another one for the other side that said don't know for who, but, I voted. So
Well, we want to thank you guys for watching us and paying attention today. Thank Mr. Keyes here for coming in. We
Like I said,
appreciate
it
it,
was a
my man.
privilege and
Hopefully
an
he'll
honor.
come back in again and talk with us some more.
I'd love to, man. I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Give us some more information.
I've heard a little bit about what you guys are going to be discussing in the future, and love to be a part
So
of
yeah,
that.
we'll
too.
have to get to the Atlantis and some of this
Atlantis
other
thing.
stuff
Yeah,
later,
it's-
man.
you can
We'll save
you're-
that too.
You're
People that
welcome
know me.
back anytime
Yeah.
you want for that. Those kind
So-
of conversations. Those Ryan, even Ryan shaking his head yes. So anytime you got some time, believe
Well,
me.
hopefully
we'll-
he-
Can we mention Anunnaki?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
yes,
before we
we
get out of
can.
here, I want you.
Yes,
I
we
want
can. You want to talk
commit a
about?
couple-
Well, how long we've been going?
You got time?
It's over an hour now.
It's over
Oh,
an
y'all
hour
good?
now.
You got time?
Yeah, I got it.
All right,
If you,
all right.
you
Let's
want to
do-
go
let's
10
just-
minutes more minutes and let's
Yeah,
just
dive
talk about
into it.
Atlantis. Let's just talk about
Oh,
what
heck
we were
yeah.
talking about Atlantis or whatever. We'll talk. We can talk about.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
We can talk about
I
some
like the
more.
Anunnaki.
Well, if you want to talk
Yeah.
about the
That's a
Anunnaki, we
great-
can talk about that. We got
Okay.
10 more minutes.
I got 10
Yeah,
more.
roll
We
it,
got
roll
10
it.
more,
All
10
right.
more minutes.
Okay.
Let's keep it going, man. Give it
What-
to us, man.
What's the theory?
What's the theory behind it?
I know the theory, but I want you to explain.
Let's
to
let
me.
everybody else know.
So, this is me personally.
Okay.
I'm a huge proponent of Anunnaki being our originators, or at least
Okay.
having a major role in that. And now there's a lot of evidence that's coming out in the mainstream that's actually backing that up, if people are paying attention.
Okay.
right?
What exactly is Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki are, we'll say, an alien race that came here millions of years ago. I think it was approximately anywhere from 300,000 to 400,000 years ago. They discovered the Earth as a source of gold because they were searching for gold. They had destroyed the atmosphere of their planet because of nuclear warfare. Okay. They came here in search of gold. That's another lineage. People always wonder why gold has always been so important throughout the centuries, right? The eons to man. But we were genetically manipulated to be workers, like the worker ants, to be able to mine for that gold, because they found when they were doing it, it was too labor intensive. So hey, we need to fix somebody up to do the work for us, and that's where all of this comes in as far as we're concerned. Okay. Now, there is a lot of controversy on that because it starts to interfere with mainstream traditional religious beliefs. And that's been at the crux of a lot of information being withheld because they don't want to interfere or cause an uproar, at least not yet. It's coming.
Yeah.
But they've been working on easing all that information out because,
Well, you got the alien disclosures now.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the stuff
I mean,
that's coming out. It goes into a lot of the ancient buildings we've been talking about these ancient buildings that have been here. And
the monoliths that.
I mean,
all over the world.
well, the biggest thing to me, and we won't get back into it again, but is the world fairs. Just go and start doing some research on the world fairs.
He was telling me that's very interesting.
Yeah.
You
it's a
go
little
and start
different.
looking at, the Chicago World, and the Chicago Fair, and what was it, 1902 that we were talking about?
1901, actually.
It was 4
electricity only
times
been around for
bigger
like
than the
9
state of
years.
Texas,
Wow.
with
People walking around with sticks,
With
candlelight sticks. I mean, still,
buildings.
at
there
that
was
time.
there was one building, the showcase building in Chicago held 350,000 people seated.
That's amazing.
You can go and read all the, and then what they did was, as soon as it was over, 6 days later, they leveled it.
I got a question.
But they've done
Why?
this all over. If you go to Chicago City Fire, the San Francisco Fire, they blamed it on other things. But if this goes back
a show
to
about that it wasn't really like the Chicago fire. It wasn't really a lady's cow kicking over
well,
the lantern, right?
him and I, when we started this,
kinda hard to believe,
we've had a lot of discussions, and we always talk about who wrote history. If the victor always writes history, Most science people with scientific data, I've asked AI, I've asked historians, I've asked a bunch of different people.
Mm-hmm.
If history was written by the victors, what percentage of it is actually true? Even AI, when we did it on this show, says most.
It was like quizzical.
Most people will tell you
around.
anywhere from 60 to 65% being untruth. That leaves you 35% that could be untruth or truth also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Depending on who won, what traditions were passed down. You wipe out civilization, or you wipe out like, let's not say wipe out, but something that happens like with World War II with Germany or something like that. All you have to do is skew everything that you're writing about that from that point forward for people to read 2-3 generations from now. They would have no idea. You could change the whole wording around that Hitler was, some mystical beast or whatever.
Right.
And after a while, people that lived through that
and
are gone, and you're only passing down word of knowledge. That over a couple of over 20 years could be changed.
It's hard to pick through history to figure out sometimes, man, if some of this stuff is really true and accurate, because it's the conflicting events, the conflicting timelines that seem to match. One says here, but then you go and you take this monolith and you dig down further and you find out, okay, there's human footprints, there's dinosaurs, mammoths, and then there's some human footprints. So wait a minute.
So let me say this.
So in North America,
have you watched
we
the
weren't here
Ancient
till after
Apocalypse?
the Ice Age.
I haven't watched that yet.
You need to check that out, because
he told me about it.
What that goes, the whole story goes to, is basically every 10 to 12,000 years we have a cataclysmic.
Yes.
And
it falls on the
basically
same thing talk about
to go back to the Tartarian mud flood. Some people call them the mud flood. Some people call it the flood. I mean, every culture has a flood, but every culture has a different way of the flood. We've shown that before, because Christians believe in Noah. You have the Indonesians that believe a guy and a girl hung on the side of the cliff during the flood and then pulled them. Everybody has their own interpretation of what happened.
So think about this. Basically, all modern civilization has come out of the Sumerian culture, the Sumerian Babylonian culture,
Polynesian.
right? All religion stems from that. Even the Judeo-Christian religion stems from the Babylonians.
Hey, Ryan, do you still have that picture of the Montana? Do we still have that one from last one? I want him to see that picture. The state capitol.
That has nothing to do with what he's talking about.
I just want him to see this. I just want him to see this while he's talking.
So the oldest writings that's been established by scholars and archaeologists are the Sumerian writings, and they talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh. Mm-hmm. It's becoming more mainstream now because all of these individuals that are into this stuff are talking about it. But the Epic of Gilgamesh is the original flood story. Mm-hmm. Everything else came from that, and it's thousands of years older. So how do you explain that? And when you start digging into what their writings say, and then also now I'm still trying to verify this information, but I've been listening to the reading of scrolls that were written directly by the Anunnaki. Mm-hmm. And supposedly they were kept under wraps, again, by a very wealthy family that did not want to interfere with our mainstream religious system until now. So now this information is coming out, and their writings, not unlike the ancient Indian writings, are talking about their craft in a very modern way, heads up displays, all these different things.
You can go back and look at
life support suits.
You can go back and look at some of the ancient or even Egyptian carvings, and it shows people on bikes. If you really look at some of
it's there.
Some of it's there. Yeah. People just don't want to see it.
It falls in line with some of that military stuff you're talking about.
That's the key point.
The military beds you're talking about.
There's. I know he's talking about the med beds.
Yeah, the med beds. Okay,
so what's being said, and when you Google it, it says, conspiracy theory. No, those beds have been in other countries. They've been trying to, again, keep those out. Those are going to start coming forward, too. I was told some time ago that you're going to start seeing a lot of this technology, and they even mentioned ozone therapy, right? You're going to start seeing this technology released before 2028, right? The information is already coming out. They talked about that as far back as 2015.
They're slowly leaking out stuff here.
And
and
I've been digging into this stuff since early 1990s.
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I've seen that, yeah.
But if you actually read what the man said,
I keep this one. Yeah,
and so do I. That's why it's on my phone. But
Yeah.
people just don't. They read it, but they don't read it. They don't listen to what he's saying.
that needs to be up. It really does, because
We've had it on the show. We had it
Okay.
on episode 1 or whatever, 1 or 2. There's enough stuff out there that's.
and I've talked to people.
Well, you can get into the.
I think we've just scratched the surface
Yeah,
of what we really
I know we
know.
only had 10 minutes, but
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just in general, as far as science and and
But I
understanding
think
our history. I
it's
think we've
the
really just
history-
scratched the surface.
The
of what we
history,
understand.
it's the problem is the timelines. When you start moving some of this stuff around, it just doesn't make sense. Because you'll see when you go watch that Ancient Apocalypse.
I will.
Because
I will.
when you start seeing that they're finding stuff that in the Americas that goes back 23,000 years.
we could go back. Was it
Give
go
it a
back
tech.
and Catholic-
I mean,
right?
that's Graham. The Graham that's his show
So,
called Ancient Apocalypse.
You know, they can't explain that away. The carvings, the animals that are in there, and then the age of it.
yeah.
Well, now they're back to 35,000 years now.
And then even there's the gentleman, he was a geologist, I believe, and early on he talked about the water erosion on the Sphinx.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the ancient documentation that I've been looking into, the Sphinx was way, way, way back before anything else, right? And it's actually covering.
It doesn't. But if they say that over there, it changes everything.
Well, they basically
'Cause of
laughed
that
at him
timeline.
though, but now he's being proven true.
Well,
they start discovering new discoveries of his, and,
Well,
and
most
have it-
of
you
the-
can't you can't ignore it.
a
You
lot of
have
this-
to,
a lot of
after a
the
while, you have to
Sphinx-
accept it, because if
Yeah.
not, then you're just lying.
How's your water erosion on the Sphinx? And that's what he
Yeah.
brought
Well,
out.
he already said they already proved that with water erosion. That thing's 17,000 years or something. I think that was the age he
Yeah.
gave. If you just go by water erosion on the stone, the one thing that's cool about the Sphinx, I just watched a guy talking about archaeologist that was over there, and he was just talking about there's no way the head on that thing has been tampered with. He said the size of the head compared to the size of the body makes absolutely no sense if you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
That it was actually something else there that somebody didn't like, that somebody's changed that over time.
Well, maybe I need to look into what you're talking about
Because,
a little bit.
I mean, the
these
head is
giant
tiny.
footprints they're finding
So-
now. These giant, huge ass human footprints.
Right.
I mean, I'm like,
Yeah, there's
14. mean,
I just
they're
think there's so much
14s.
more to history than we know. And if you go back to the having these cosmic events or catastrophe events every 12 or 15,000 years, that's what I was telling. If you say right now we had a major one, say we had a big solar storm hit, and you wiped out all of Russia, all of Europe, Scandinavia, all of Canada, the United States, Japan, China, Australia, most of that, and you only left India, Bangladesh, Africa, South America, and you wiped out 90% of the people across the world. Where you left, the technology is not as high as it was in some of these other places. It would take that new generation of people that much longer to get back to the technology that they were at. I mean, it was like if you wiped out all the hunter and gatherers and all you left is the farmers. The
Right.
farmers don't know how to gather and hunt; they only know how to farm.
Right.
If that happened and it was that big of a global catastrophe that's happened, and you're wiping out a lot of, if you basically 90% of all your physicists, scientists, billionaires,
That's your brain trust.
and the 10 or 12% that left were just in farming areas, or that your technology.
You'll have that one farmer that has a kid, is a rebel.
Yeah,
And you'll learn how to hunt and kill people.
From
Kill things.
here, scientifically, you would go from here to here in one day, and then you would have to build. It would take you years to even get back to where you were before.
So, they say that we are like probably the third or fourth, I guess, edition of man. It didn't start with Adam and Eve. There were other human civilizations before that got wiped out.
And a lot. I've heard somebody make a comment, or somebody was on the theory that those are the different blood types.
So, well, that's another thing too, because if you look at
That's a cool
We-
theory.
we-
I like that.
Well, seriously,
blood types.
yeah, it is. If you're RH negative or something, you're
right there, it's very rare. I believe it's the Bath people of Spain. But throughout history, even in the secret societies, I'll bring up this point is that, we always here in the United States and everything, we always think about color. But for all of these civilizations, these ancient civilizations, the Anunnaki, whoever it was always about bloodlines. And when you talk about the elite of this world, just touch on that a little bit. It's always been about bloodlines, the royalty, even with our presidential links, Obama is related to the
all
Bushes
the aristocrats throughout history.
Yeah.
They're
So
all
there was a reason for that, though. It wasn't. They all feel that they can trace their bloodlines back to our ancient alien forefathers, and that made them. They felt like they were gods as well, deserve it of worship. So that's what really counts. And I've had an individual that's part of a secret society tell me directly that's what it's about. It's not about this.
I have a question for you before we get out of here. I gotta know this.
Okay.
Do you think that are these things interdimensional as far as aliens? Or do you think they're interdimensional, or do you think that
Well, he should really
they're
get
out
here
there
for
in
the
the-
firmament conversation.
Oh,
out
they're
there in
both right.
space?
They're definitely. We have civilizations, alien civilizations living on this planet that are interdimensional. We are just in a vibrational.
Have you never seen Men in
frequency.
Black?
Yeah, right.
They put it in your face.
They do. They tell you everything they're doing.
It's part of their religion.
Our frequency just does not vibrate at a level where we can see or interact. Now, there's some of those things that have been coming through.
Do you know why we can't anymore? I'll tell you why.
Why is that?
They took all the bells away.
Did you see that movie Troll?
No, I've been
talking
about that for a long
Yeah,
time.
he's
We're all
telling me about it.
you remember when you were growing up, you always heard them ringing. Every church had one, every city hall had one, everybody had one. And
Can we say on Netflix? I think there's a
Yeah.
movie called Troll,
Okay.
and that's exactly what they bring up.
the frequency of the bells in the story, in the movie, the frequency, the creature cannot handle the frequency, and it keeps them away. They can't.
Right.
When the frequency goes off,
Maybe this
and
is
the
part of the
alien
thing they're telling
is-
us before we
Well,
being
it's
told.
if the alien's walking in and the bell hits the bell frequency, they can't keep their form, so you can't see them. When the bell frequency makes it where you
They'll
can
shape
see
shift.
them shape shift, you
Yeah.
can see them
Right.
actually shifting. That's in the conspiracies there. That's why they've taken all the bells down everywhere, and go find a place that has a bell anymore. People, but it's weird. People are putting them back up now. All of a sudden in Europe, the bells are going back up. I was watching a story a couple of days ago. People were putting them back up in churches over there
Wow. Okay.
because they took them down everywhere. Think
Well-
about all the places that don't have. You remember growing up? I mean, you
always
when
heard
they
the
built,
always
when they
heard
built
the
the church,
bells.
they built a steeple. The bell was
Bell
in the
was in the
steeple.
steeple,
I mean, it was
that it was for the
since,
frequency.
Like,
It was
the
for the
90s that
frequency.
they've been building these steeple things.
And just think, this is something else I learned, that every planet has its own frequency. So there can be life on that planet that we may not necessarily see with our
Human
telescopes
residence.
or whatever, but it's there, And like I said, with this planet, even there's a lot of people now. Look at all the shows that they're hunting Bigfoot, right? And they're getting more and more technically advanced on their tools to hunt them, and they're starting to get more and more hits, right? But what happens is, I was told by a guy in Oklahoma that he would take people out on tours, and he said, well, there's two kinds. He said there's the interdimensional, basically, and then there's a physical. Now I don't know if there's two different kinds. What I've been hearing lately is that they all have that capability, and that's why they're so elusive.
You never
So-
seen the movie Predator?
Huh. Yeah.
Again,
No,
they
that's
put
a,
it in
that's a
your
good
face.
point. That's a good point. Once again,
he's right about that. They always tell you what they're doing.
It's part of their religion.
I'm starting to believe it more and more. I mean, he's been
It's
speaking it for a long time, and I'm like, and
part
then
of
all of a
their
sudden, all
religion.
this stuff starts
just,
dropping.
Just think
the
about it.
last
If you're
few
trying
years,
to
I'm
do
like, okay,
psychological warfare on
maybe
a
you got a
group,
point.
and I tell you something, and then tell you something different, and then I tell you everybody that I told the first time are now conspiracy theorists, and I push this agenda.
I hate that word, man.
That was
Conspiracy
coined by
theorist.
the
I just-
C.
It's just a nice label to throw on people to make them sound crazy, man. That's exactly what it is.
But it's changed.
But you're
The
right.
definition has changed.
CIA
now.
came up with
It's
that
truth involver is basically what they've been. Stop.
Well,
calling
I was
conspiracy
told
theories.
about this, like people like me that, and you guys, I've been, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and they call us accumulators, because you can put enough pieces together where you can actually get the truth. And I've always used what I call the wagon wheel effect. So when all these different sources cross in the middle, that's the hub, and that's generally the truth.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of they put out disinformation there's always truth mixed with that, but where you see all these different sources and that information crosses.
Well, media is used differently today than it was used back in 1950. You know, now don't get me wrong. I'm sure they were still using government and people were still trying to use the media back then to propel their thoughts and theories and stuff like that. But there was a lot more independence and about getting the truth out then than
Hollywood
it is now.
has always been involved.
Yeah.
Hollywood's
of course.
And I'm not one of those people that, everything.
I think there's good and bad.
Is the root of all
everything.
evil. But yeah,
the only thing that's the root of all evil is money.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
the
love of money.
Yeah, the love of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic.
This
has
been awesome.
been great,
I
and we want
enjoyed
you
it.
back more because we're going to talk before you leave. A couple more things that I want to talk about off camera, or whatever that we can do another show about. But I think we could. I think
Sounds
with
like fun.
where you're wanting to go, or where I'm wanting to go. We can do a whole river rafting, and look at Ryan shaking his head. He understands exactly what I'm talking about. Where we're going.
It's one of the associate producer. I know he's got to get his ass up and out of here in like about 10 minutes. He's like, "Hey, let's go, let's go."
Okay. But let's make sure we get your information. Let's make sure you get him to put the sign the book or whatever. Show him what we're doing with that thing.
Yeah, have him sign the book there, and
we'll get you back here for sure, man. And who signed that one?
I fucked up.
That's right.
It says wrap it up.
We'll just do right there, front page, wherever you want, man.
All right, well, we'll see you all soon.
Sign it, put your email down and information like that. Oh, give me your company information. We'll throw you.
All right, the dogs are going on.
Yeah, man. All right.
Dinner might be here. Take care. Peace.
Well, we're going to bring a lot to you, man. So y'all just stay tuned and be prepared.